A doctor found a single mother and her critically ill child on the street and was horrified. Autumn leaves danced on the crisp breeze as Evelyn Mackenzie hurried down the bustling streets of Everbrook, Colorado. Her copper hair, hastily pulled into a messy bun, threatened to come undone with each harried step. The clock was ticking, and she knew she couldn't be late again. Come on," she muttered, weaving through the morning crowd. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted from nearby cafes, tempting her, but there was no time. Not today. Evelyn burst through the doors of Everbrook General Hospital, her breath coming in short gasps. She barely made it to the nurse's station before her shift started. "Cutting it close again, Ev," remarked her colleague, Nurse Patel, with a knowing smile. I know," Evelyn sighed, quickly donning her scrubs. Liam had a rough night. His fever spiked again. Concern clouded Nurse Patel's features. "Oh, honey, how is he doing now?" "Better, thankfully. My neighbor, Mrs. Holloway, is watching him today. I feel like I'm constantly running on empty, you know?" Before Nurse Patel could respond, Dr. Reeves appeared, his salt and pepper hair as disheveled as ever. "Evelyn, we need you in room 304, mister. Gunderson is having another episode." And just like that, Evelyn was thrust into the whirlwind of her day. As she tended to patients, checked vitals, and navigated the controlled chaos of the hospital, her mind kept drifting back to Liam, her sweet, brave little boy, fighting a battle no child should have to face. The hours ticked by, a blur of medical charts, concerned family members, and the ever-present beeping of machines. By the time her shift ended, Evelyn felt like she'd run a marathon. As she trudged towards the hospital exit, her phone buzzed. It was Mrs. Holloway. Evelyn, dear." The elderly woman's voice crackled through the speaker. "Liam's fever is back. I think you should come home." Evelyn's heart sank. She'd hoped for just one peaceful evening, maybe even a chance to catch up on some much-needed sleep. But motherhood, especially single motherhood, rarely followed such convenient schedules. "I'll be right there, Mrs. Holloway. Thank you for letting me know." The drive home was a haze of worry and exhaustion. Evelyn's knuckles were white on the steering wheel as she navigated the familiar streets of Everbrook. The quaint town, with its charming storefronts and tree-lined avenues, usually brought her comfort. But tonight it all seemed to blur together. As she pulled into the driveway of her modest bungalow, Evelyn took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She had to be strong. For Liam. The moment she stepped through the door, Mrs. Holloway was there, concern etched on her kind face. "He's in his room, dear. I've been trying to keep him comfortable." Evelyn nodded gratefully. "Thank you so much. I don't know what I'd do without you." She made her way to Liam's room, her heart breaking at the sight of her son's small form huddled under a mountain of blankets. His usually vibrant green eyes were glassy with fever, his chestnut curls plastered to his forehead. "Mommy?" he croaked, reaching out a small hand. "I'm here, sweetheart," Evelyn soothed, gathering him into her arms. "Mommy's here." As she held her son, rocking him gently and humming a soft lullaby, Evelyn felt the familiar weight of worry and fear settling on her shoulders. How long could she keep this up? The constant juggling act between work and Liam's care was taking its toll. But as Liam's breathing eventually evened out, his small body relaxing into sleep, Evelyn knew she'd find a way. She had to. For him. Little did she know as she gazed out the window at the star-studded sky that fate was about to intervene in the most unexpected way. The following week brought no respite for Evelyn. Liam's condition seemed to stabilize, but the constant worry gnawed at her. She found herself going through the motions at work, her mind perpetually split between her duties as a nurse and her responsibilities as a mother. It was on a particularly hectic Tuesday that fate decided to throw Evelyn a curveball. She was rushing through the hospital cafeteria, hoping to grab a quick coffee before her next round of patients, when disaster struck. In her haste, Evelyn collided with a tall figure, sending her tray flying. The crash echoed through the cafeteria, drawing curious stares from other patrons. "Oh no, I'm so sorry," Evelyn exclaimed, mortified as she bent down to help clean up the mess. "No worries at all," a warm, deep voice responded. "It's just as much my fault. I wasn't watching where I was going." Evelyn looked up, meeting a pair of kind hazel eyes. The man before her was tall and lean, with sandy blonde hair and a gentle smile that immediately put her at ease. He was dressed in casual clothes, jeans and a simple button-down shirt, rather than the usual medical attire she was accustomed to seeing in the hospital. "I'm Caleb," he said, offering her a hand. "Caleb Hawthorne." "Evelyn Mackenzie," she replied, allowing him to help her to her feet. "I'm so embarrassed. I've been all over the place lately." Caleb's smile widened. "Well, Evelyn Mackenzie, how about I buy you a replacement coffee to make up for my part in this cafeteria catastrophe?" For a moment, Evelyn hesitated. She wasn't used to accepting help, let alone from strangers. But there was something about Caleb's easygoing demeanor that made her want to say yes. "That's very kind of you," she found herself saying, "but I really should get back to work." "Of course," Caleb nodded understandingly. "Rain check, then?" Before Evelyn could respond, her pager buzzed insistently. "I'm sorry, I have to go," she said, already backing away. "It was nice meeting you, Caleb." As she hurried off to answer the page, Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had just happened. But with the demands of her job pulling her attention, she pushed the thought aside. The rest of the week passed in a blur of long shifts and sleepless nights. Liam's health took another dip, forcing Evelyn to take a few days off work to care for him. As she sat by his bedside reading his favorite stories and wiping his fevered brow, she couldn't help but feel the walls closing in. It was during one of these moments of quiet desperation that a knock at the door startled her. Puzzled, she wasn't expecting anyone, Evelyn made her way to the entrance, peeking through the peephole. To her surprise, there stood Caleb Hawthorne, a gentle smile on his face and a paper bag in his hands. Cautiously, Evelyn opened the door. "Caleb, what are you doing here?" "I hope you don't mind," he said, looking slightly sheepish. "I overheard some nurses at the hospital talking about you taking time off to care for your son. I thought you might appreciate some home-cooked meals." Evelyn was speechless. It had been so long since anyone had shown her such kindness. "That's incredibly thoughtful of you. But how did you know where I live?" Caleb's cheeks reddened slightly. Well, I might have sweet-talked Nurse Patel into giving me your address. I promise I'm not a stalker, just a concerned friend." The hopeful lilt in his voice made Evelyn smile despite herself. "Friend," she agreed, opening the door wider. "Would you like to come in?" As Caleb stepped into her home, Evelyn felt a strange mix of emotions. Gratitude, certainly, but also a flicker of something else, something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. Little did she know, this unexpected visit was just the beginning of a journey that would change her life forever. The aroma of hearty chicken soup filled Evelyn's small kitchen as she and Caleb unpacked the meals he had brought. Liam, curiosity piqued by the new visitor, had ventured out of his room and was now perched on a kitchen stool, his big green eyes watching their every move. "And who might this young man be?" Caleb asked, his voice warm and friendly as he turned to Liam. "I'm Liam," the boy replied, his usual shyness tempered by a hint of intrigue. "Are you Mummy's friend?" Evelyn felt a blush creep up her cheeks. "Liam, this is Mr. Hawthorne. He works at the hospital where Mummy works." "Please call me Caleb," he insisted, crouching down to Liam's level. "It's very nice to meet you, Liam. I heard you weren't feeling well, so I thought I'd bring over some of my famous chicken soup. It's guaranteed to chase away any pesky germs." Liam's eyes widened. "Really? Can I have some now, Mommy, please?" Evelyn couldn't help but chuckle at her son's sudden enthusiasm. It had been days since he'd shown any interest in food. "Of course, sweetheart. Let's get you settled at the table." As they sat down to enjoy the meal, Evelyn found herself relaxing for the first time in what felt like ages. Caleb had a way of putting them both at ease, regaling Liam with funny stories from the hospital and asking him about his favorite books and games. "So, Caleb," Evelyn said as they cleared the dishes later, Liam having retreated to the living room to watch cartoons, "you never did tell me what you do at the hospital. Are you a doctor?" A shadow seemed to pass over Caleb's face so quickly that Evelyn almost missed it. I'm between positions at the moment," he said, his usual confidence faltering slightly. "But I have a medical background, yes." Evelyn sensed there was more to the story, but she didn't push. After all, they'd only just met. "Well, whatever your position, I'm grateful you decided to play delivery man today." "It's been a tough few weeks." Caleb's expression softened. I can only imagine. Single parenting is hard enough without having to deal with health issues. Is there anything else I can do to help? The offer was tempting, so tempting, but years of self-reliance made Evelyn hesitate. You've already done so much, she began. Evelyn, Caleb interrupted gently. Sometimes it's okay to accept help. You don't have to do everything alone. Those words, spoken with such sincerity, broke something open inside her. Before she knew it, Evelyn found herself pouring out the whole story. Liam's mysterious illness, the endless doctor's appointments, the struggle to balance work and caregiving. Caleb listened without judgment, offering quiet words of support and understanding. By the time she finished, Evelyn felt as though a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "Thank you," she said softly, "for listening, for caring. It means more than you know." "Anytime," Caleb replied, his hazel eyes warm with compassion. "And I meant what I said about helping. I have some flexibility in my schedule. Maybe I could watch Liam sometimes when you're at work." The offer was unexpected, and Evelyn's initial instinct was to refuse. But as she looked at Caleb's earnest face, she found herself reconsidering. "Are you sure? He can be a handful, especially when he's not feeling well." Caleb grinned. "I'm sure I can handle it. Besides, that little guy in there, he's pretty special. I'd be honored to spend more time with him." And so, almost without realizing it, Evelyn found herself agreeing to Caleb's offer. As he left that evening, promising to return in a few days to babysit, she felt a glimmer of something she hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a series of events that would change her life in ways she could never have imagined. The weeks that followed brought a gradual but noticeable change to the Mackenzie household. With Caleb's help, Evelyn found herself able to breathe a little easier. She could focus more at work, knowing that Liam was in capable hands. And on her days off, she actually had time to rest and recharge. Liam, too, seemed to flourish under Caleb's care. His energy levels improved, and he looked forward to the days when Mr. Caleb would come over, bringing new books to read and exciting games to play. One sunny Saturday afternoon, Evelyn returned from a quick grocery run to find Caleb and Liam sprawled on the living room floor, surrounded by an elaborate pillow fort. "Mommy, look!" Liam exclaimed, his face flushed with excitement. "We built a castle." Evelyn couldn't help but laugh at the sight. "I see that. It's very impressive." Caleb emerged from the fort, his hair mussed and a boyish grin on his face. "Your son, madam, is a master architect. I was merely his humble assistant." As Liam launched into a detailed explanation of their construction process, Evelyn felt a warmth bloom in her chest. It had been so long since she'd seen her son this animated, this carefree. And Caleb, well, he fit into their little world with an ease that both thrilled and terrified her. Later that evening, after Liam had been tucked into bed, Evelyn and Caleb sat on the porch swing, enjoying the mild spring air. "Thank you," Evelyn said softly, breaking the comfortable silence, "for everything you've done for us. Or, I don't know how I would have managed these past few weeks without you." Caleb turned to her, his expression serious. "You don't have to thank me, Evelyn. Being here with you and Liam, it's been a gift. You two have brought light back into my life in a way I didn't even realize I needed." There was a vulnerability in his voice that made Evelyn's heart ache. "Caleb," she began hesitantly, "I know we haven't known each other long, but I feel like there's something you're not telling me. About your past, about why you're really here in Everbrook." Caleb's shoulders tensed, and for a moment, Evelyn feared she'd overstepped. But then he let out a long sigh, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. "You're right," he admitted. "There is more to my story. I'm not sure I'm ready to share it all yet. Can you trust me a little longer?" Evelyn studied his profile in the fading light. Despite the secrets he was clearly harboring, she realized that she did trust him. More than that, she cared for him. The realization sent a jolt through her system. "I can wait," she said softly, reaching out to take his hand. "Just know that when you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen." Caleb's fingers intertwined with hers, a gesture of gratitude and something more. As they sat there, the rhythmic creaking of the porch swing the only sound, Evelyn felt a shift in the air between them, a promise of something deeper, something that both exhilarated and frightened her. But as the days turned into weeks and spring blossomed into summer, Evelyn found herself embracing the change. Caleb became a constant presence in their lives, not just as Liam's caregiver, but as a friend, a confidant, and perhaps something more. They shared quiet moments over coffee in the mornings, swapped stories about their days, and even ventured out on a few not-quite dates, picnics in the park with Liam, movie nights after the little one was in bed. And through it all, Liam continued to improve. His energy returned in full force, and through it all, Liam continued to improve. His energy returned in full force and the frequency of his fevers decreased. While Evelyn was overjoyed at her son's progress, a part of her couldn't help but worry that as Liam got better, Caleb's reason for being in their lives would disappear. But Caleb showed no signs of pulling away. If anything, he seemed to be growing more attached to both Evelyn and Liam with each passing day. One balmy evening in late June, Evelyn found herself alone with Caleb in the backyard. Liam had just gone to bed, exhausted from a day of playing in the sprinklers. The air was heavy with the scent of blooming jasmine, and fireflies danced in the gathering twilight. "Penny for your thoughts?" Caleb's voice broke through Evelyn's reverie. She turned to him, a small smile playing on her lips. "I was just thinking about how much has changed since you came into our lives. It's like you were the missing piece we didn't even know we were looking for." Caleb's eyes softened, and he took a step closer. "Evelyn, But before he could finish his thought, a crash from inside the house made them both jump. Evelyn's heart leapt into her throat as she heard Liam's cry of pain. They rushed inside to find Liam on the kitchen floor, clutching his arm. A chair lay toppled beside him, and broken glass from a fallen water pitcher surrounded him. "Oh, sweetheart," Evelyn gasped, carefully navigating the glass to reach her son. Caleb was right behind her, his medical training kicking in. "Liam, buddy, can you tell me where it hurts?" Through tears, Liam pointed to his left arm. I was trying to get a glass of water," he hiccuped. "I'm sorry, Mommy." "Shh, it's okay," Evelyn soothed, even as worry gnawed at her. "We're not mad. We just want to make sure you're all right." Caleb gently examined Liam's arm, his touch professional yet comforting. "I don't think it's broken," he said after a moment, "but we should get an X-ray to be sure. There's an urgent care center not far from here that should still be open." Evelyn nodded, grateful for Caleb's calm presence. As they made their way to the car, Liam cradled in her arms, she couldn't help but marvel at how seamlessly Caleb had stepped into the role of protector and caregiver. The next few hours passed in a blur of waiting rooms and medical forms. Caleb never left their side, entertaining Liam with silly stories and offering Evelyn reassuring smiles when her anxiety threatened to overwhelm her. Finally, around midnight, they received the good news. No broken bones, just a bad sprain. As they drove home, Liam dozed in the back seat, his arm wrapped in a bright blue cast that he'd proudly declared made him look like a superhero. "Thank you," Evelyn said softly, glancing at Caleb in the passenger seat. "I don't know what I would have done without you tonight." Caleb reached over and squeezed her hand. "You don't have to thank me, Evelyn. This is where I want to be, with you, with Liam, if you'll have me." The weight of his words hung in the air between them. Evelyn felt her heart race, a mix of hope and fear swirling in her chest. She opened her mouth to respond, but Caleb gently shook his head. "You don't have to answer now," he said. "I know there's still a lot we need to talk about, a lot I need to tell you, but I want you to know that my feelings for you, for Liam, they're real. Whatever comes next, that won't change." As they pulled into the driveway, Evelyn felt as though she was standing on the precipice of something life-changing. The future stretched out before her, full of possibilities and uncertainties, but looking at Caleb's steady presence beside her and Liam's peaceful form in the rearview mirror, she realized that for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of what tomorrow might bring. Little did she know the biggest revelation was yet to come. The weeks following Liam's accident brought a new level of closeness to Evelyn and Caleb's relationship. The unspoken tension between them had evolved into a quiet understanding, a shared acknowledgement of deeper feelings neither was quite ready to voice aloud. Liam, for his part, seemed to blossom under the attention. His arm healed quickly, and his general health continued to improve. The once frequent hospital visits became less common, and Evelyn dared to hope that perhaps they had turned a corner in his mysterious illness. It was on a crisp September morning that everything changed. Evelyn had just dropped Liam off at school, his first full day back since the accident, when she received an unexpected call from Dr. Reeves at the hospital. "Evelyn," the doctor's voice crackled through the speaker, "I need you to come in as soon as possible. We've had a breakthrough regarding Liam's case." Her heart pounding, Evelyn rushed to the hospital. As she hurried through the familiar corridors, her mind raced with possibilities. Good news? Bad news? She couldn't bear the thought of Liam facing more hardship. When she entered Dr. Reeves's office, she was surprised to find Caleb already there, his face uncharacteristically pale and drawn. "Caleb? What are you doing here?" Evelyn asked, confusion and a hint of suspicion coloring her voice. Before Caleb could respond, Dr. Reeves cleared his throat. "Please, Evelyn, have a seat. There's something we need to discuss." As Evelyn sank into the chair, her gaze darted between Caleb and Dr. Reeves. The tension in the room was palpable. "Evelyn, Doctor," Reeves began, his tone gentle but serious. "We've identified the underlying cause of Liam's recurring health issues. It's a rare genetic condition, one that often goes undiagnosed for years." Evelyn felt her world tilt on its axis. Is it treatable?" "Yes." Dr. Reeves nodded, a small smile breaking through his serious demeanor. "In fact, with the right treatment plan, Liam should be able to live a completely normal life." Relief washed over Evelyn, but it was quickly followed by confusion. "That's wonderful news, but I don't understand. Why is Caleb here? And why do you both look so serious?" It was then that Caleb spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Because I'm the one who made the diagnosis, Evelyn. 5 years ago, when Liam was first admitted to this hospital." Evelyn felt as though the floor had dropped out from beneath her. "What? That's impossible. You didn't even know us 5 years ago." Caleb's eyes were filled with a mixture of guilt and pleading. "I did. I was the pediatric specialist who treated Liam during his first major health crisis. I'm the one who started him on the treatment that's been keeping his symptoms at bay all these years." The room spun around Evelyn as the implications of Caleb's words sank in. But why didn't you say anything all this time?" Dr. Reeves interjected gently. "Caleb came to me a few weeks ago, Evelyn. He recognized Liam's case and wanted to review the files. It was his expertise that led to this breakthrough." Evelyn turned to Caleb, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "Why, Caleb? Why the secrecy? Why come back into our lives like this?" Caleb's shoulders sagged under the weight of his confession. "I left medicine shortly after treating Liam. There were complications with another patient. I couldn't handle the pressure anymore, but Liam's case always stayed with me. When I moved back to Everbrook, I wanted to check on him, to make sure he was okay. I never intended to get so involved, but what?" Evelyn's voice was barely audible. "But I fell in love," Caleb admitted, his gaze never leaving Evelyn's face. "With you, with Liam, with the life we've been building. I know I should have told you sooner, and I'll understand if you can't forgive me. But please believe that everything else, my feelings for you, my care for Liam, it's all real." Evelyn sat in stunned silence, her mind reeling from the revelations. Part of her wanted to scream, to rage at Caleb for his deception, but another part, a part that had grown to love and trust this man over the past months, understood the complexity of his position. I need time," she finally said, rising from her chair on shaky legs. "To process all of this, to figure out what it means for Liam, for us." Caleb nodded, resignation and hope warring in his eyes. "I understand. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, ready to answer any questions you have when you're ready." As Evelyn left the office, her world forever altered. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was not the end of their story, but rather the beginning of a new chapter. One filled with challenges, certainly, but also with the potential for healing, forgiveness, and perhaps a love deeper than any she had known before. The autumn leaves were in full blaze, painting Everbrook in hues of gold and crimson, when Evelyn finally felt ready to face Caleb again. The weeks following his revelation had been a whirlwind of emotions: anger, confusion, betrayal, but also, unexpectedly, gratitude and a persistent, undeniable longing. Liam's health had improved dramatically under the new treatment plan. The sparkle in his eyes, once dimmed by illness, now shone brighter than ever. And with each passing day, as she watched her son flourish, Evelyn found it harder to hold on to her anger towards the man who had made it all possible. It was on a quiet Sunday afternoon that Evelyn finally picked up the phone. Her heart raced as she dialed the number she knew by heart. Evelyn. Caleb's voice was a mixture of hope and trepidation. "Can we talk?" she asked, surprising herself with the steadiness of her own voice. "In person, I mean. There's a lot we need to discuss." They agreed to meet at Willow Creek Park, a neutral ground that held no memories for either of them. As Evelyn walked along the leaf-strewn path, she spotted Caleb sitting on a bench overlooking the creek. The sight of him, looking both familiar and somehow changed, made her breath catch. "Hi," she said softly, taking a seat beside him. "Hi," he replied, his eyes searching her face. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me." "I know these past weeks couldn't have been easy." Evelyn took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "They weren't. But they gave me time to think, to process everything, and to realize something important." Caleb waited, barely breathing, as Evelyn continued. "What you did, coming back into our lives without revealing your past, it was wrong. You should have told me the truth from the beginning." Her words were firm, but not unkind. "But I also understand why you didn't. And more importantly, I've come to realize that the man I fell in love with these past months, that's the real you, Caleb. Not the doctor from 5 years ago, but the man who built pillow forts with my son and held my hand through countless sleepless nights." Hope bloomed in Caleb's eyes. "Evelyn, She held up a hand, silencing him gently. "Let me finish. I'm still hurt, and it's going to take time to rebuild the trust between us. But I'm willing to try if you are. Because the truth is, Caleb, I love you too. And I think we have a chance at something really special here, if we're brave enough to take it." Tears glistened in Caleb's eyes as he reached for her hand. "I love you, Evelyn. You and Liam both. And I promise, no more secrets. From this moment on, I'm an open book. Whatever it takes to earn back your trust, I'll do it." As their fingers intertwined, Evelyn felt a sense of rightness settle over her. There were still challenges ahead, hurdles to overcome, but for the first time in years, she felt truly hopeful about the future. "So," she said, a small smile playing on her lips, "where do we go from here?" Caleb's answering smile was radiant. "Forward," he said simply. "Together." And as the autumn sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden glow over Willow Creek Park, Evelyn and Caleb began to write the next chapter of their story. A story of forgiveness, of second chances, and of a love strong enough to weather any storm. Epilogue. 1 year later, the backyard of the Mackenzie Hawthorne home was alive with laughter and music. Colorful balloons bobbed in the gentle summer breeze, and the aroma of barbecue filled the air. In the center of it all stood Liam, now a picture of health, blowing out the candles on his birthday cake as family and friends cheered. Evelyn watched from the porch, her heart full to bursting. Caleb's arm was wrapped around her waist, a comforting, familiar weight. "Penny for your thoughts," he murmured, echoing words from what felt like a lifetime ago. Evelyn leaned into him, a contented sigh escaping her lips. "I was just thinking about how far we've come, how close we came to missing out on all of this." Caleb pressed a gentle kiss to her temple, "But we didn't miss it. We're here together. And I, for one, plan on cherishing every moment." As if on cue, Liam came bounding up to them, his face split in a wide grin. "Mom! Dad! Come on, it's time for the piñata!" Evelyn's heart swelled at hearing Liam call Caleb Dad. It had been his idea a few months after the adoption was finalized, a choice made freely, born of love and trust. As they followed Liam into the yard, joining the joyful chaos of the party, Evelyn couldn't help but marvel at the twists and turns that had brought them to this moment. The struggles, the secrets, the leap of faith it had taken to open their hearts. But looking at her family now, Caleb helping Liam line up his swing, both of them laughing as candy rained down on the excited children, Evelyn knew that every step of their journey had been worth it. For in the end, they had found more than just healing. They had found each other, and in doing so, they had found home.